Well, welcome to Public Poetry, the monthly poetry reading presented by the Houston Public Library and Public Poetry. Today's program will include readings from our featured poets, as well as an open mic session. We'd like to encourage you to visit HPL online at houstonlibrary.org and view our other digital programming. Thank you, everyone. And a friendly reminder, if you are not presenting, please make sure that your camera and microphone are turned off. And now I'd like to turn it over to Fran Sanders, the founder and director of Public Poetry.
Hey everyone, it's great to see you all. I'm so glad that you're here. And we want to thank the library. We've been working with them for 10 years and it's been an amazing partnership, and we're truly honored to be part of the library's programming and for them to be part of our programming. So it's been wonderful. I just want to mention a couple of things that Public Poetry is up to, and then I'm going to turn it over to Leila Merrill, who will be introducing each of the poets. So one of the things that I'm really excited about is that we have a brand new website. We had some great folks from the University of Houston who worked with us on this, and I think you'll find the site is much easier to navigate and really kind of represents a lot more about who we are and how we work. So I'm delighted that that's been done, and I hope you'll check it out. It's www.publicpoetry.net. The other thing is that we have a contest that runs through the end of this month that I hope you will consider entering. It's a little bit different, and I think it's a really wonderful challenge. It's an ekphrastic contest, but instead of artwork, you get to see 1.5 minute film and video clips and use that for your inspiration to write a poem. There are 5 different clips, and the poems that are selected by the judges will actually be made into a video or film poem. So, and that will be screened at Real Poetry, which is an international poetry film festival that takes place at the end of February. So I hope you'll consider doing this. I've been looking at a lot of video poetry lately, and I think it's just a fabulous option for poets, especially given that everybody's online so much now. We also have just launched our latest anthology. It's called Wicked Wit, and it's available. You can order it hopefully from your independent bookseller, and if not, you'll find it on Amazon. So please check it out. It's, I think, a really fun anthology with some amazing poets in it. You can also see a clip of the winter reading on our website, and I think the full reading that we did for the book launch is also on our YouTube channel. The last thing I would say is that, and the YouTube channel is Public Poetry Houston. And then the last thing I would say is what? I have completely forgotten. Oh, yes. We are a membership organization, and so it's members that actually support this programming and make all the programs we do happen, and we would be delighted if you would become a member. And this month, we actually have a wonderful supporter who's matching any contribution or any memberships, dollar for dollar, up to $1,000 total. So it's a way to double your contribution. I hope you'll take advantage of that. That's it from me. I'd like to turn it over now to Leila Merrill and the featured poets. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. Our first featured poet today is Ryan Mcmasters. He is an internationally published poet from Pasadena, Texas. His work has appeared in the City of Houston's website, Ireland's HCE Review, Peculiar Journal, Sheila Na Gig Journal, Moontide Press, Allegory Ridge, the San Antonio Review, Show Bear Family Circus, and Flower Song Press. Please welcome Ryan Mcmasters.
Hi, Public Poetry. Thank you so much for having me again. I had the privilege of being given the opportunity to read earlier this year, and I was dealing with some heavy life stuff. So this go round, I wanted to go through levels of emotions, and thank you for going on this journey with me. All right, here we go. This first poem is called Acceptance of Gay Lives Throughout History. If I believed in reincarnation, I don't. But if I did, I would be gay every time. Whatever noun I was, I would like men while it happened. Throughout history, I would be less resistant to my gayness with each successful rebirth. Each time, a lesson in constancy. During the Black Death, I would be a rat mite with one limp leg out of 6. Then, a rat diseased and working the runway on cobblestone. I would still be associated with religion. One time, a Bible page with blood from a paper cut on it, the receipt of pain and the source of pain combined. One time, a stained glass window. One time, a ceiling covered in opulence. One time, the eye of white Jesus, the bisexual that existed, but the color that didn't. I would be the air kept between a couple of men holding hands, and I would love the time carried within. I would be a counselor in a conversion therapy camp telling people that this isn't what God wanted and get the hypocrisy pumped into me by another counselor. Then a watch for order. Then a rope holding a neck instead of a boat to the lake bed. Then the camp itself, exhaling in relief when I'm closed down by a state that finds its strategies to be abusive. I'd be a needle at a pulse shooting blood drive, longing to take in a part of my kind and rusting from tears when they were all denied. Homophobes don't like seeing when we as gay people have the ability to bring forth life into anything, much less a life they don't consider worth saving. I've been a bullet wound, a track mark, the Stonewall brick, gay pride confetti, a homeless youth joining a house for a ball, a mustache overlapping a beard, a tongue making a knot with chin stubble, Janelle Monáe's suspenders, a tattoo on a hairy chest, a piercing where pleasure is enhanced. I have been the pleasure people are afraid of and how scary it is to become yourself when you have been told for centuries to be anything but a home you can return to. I've been the hard truth, entombed in nostalgia. I am the history without a bloodline, a mosaic devoid of genetics. Oh, what power I wield to love myself when history has shown me the repercussions of such rebellion. Oh, the acid terror I possess against the iron chains of toxic masculinity. Oh, the strength I unwrap as I claim a history others are afraid to touch. This next one is called The Gospel According to the Blood Bank. And the church said, not yours. And the church said, last resort, scrambling savior. And the parameters said, not good enough for the pulse shooting, but we'll take it if we have to for the straight people. We will postpone our homophobia long enough to be a more lenient version of homophobia, as long as you let the worthy people siphon your sub-level blood. We care about this virus more than the one we vilified you for. We're hypocritical and we know it. Look at who we allowed you to save. Look at how many orgasms you sacrificed to help someone that will vote against your interests. 3 months isn't that big a deal, says the Red Church, dripping and fearful of sacrificing their morals, but unbothered by decades of dehumanizing men with good blood. We are not outdated, assures the sopping steeple. When 2 or more are gathered in biologically ignorant rhetoric, We are the church. Social distancing didn't start this virus. It just has a different protocol. So before this all started, one of the people in the Zoom chat was complimenting me on my hair, and I'm very thankful for it. And I'm growing it out for a reason, and this poem is called Quarantendrils. Bye-bye. When the pandemic hit, I swore I wouldn't cut my hair until the virus was under control. It has been 8 months, and I am trying to find the positives that aren't results to COVID tests. My hair is the longest it's ever been, and it's only going to get longer. The good that came from all this was creating more of myself. A subsistence farmer of aesthetic, I comb, mold, dry the wild, and I am thankful my hair is like the water, wavy and tamed by the moon. My hair is the calendar with no numbers, the barometer for all the terrible things that have occurred, that I can't bring myself to write in ink or highlighter or blood. My quarantendrils are only beginning to show realized potential, how they weave and slither, hissing a kindness that warms the neck and covers the eyes. My hair has a weight to it now. It has shown itself to be formidable. Regina George's hair is filled with secrets. Mine are filled with grief and resilience, a security like a weighted blanket, a grim empathy moisturized by the slick water of the river Styx. I have turned grief into fertilizer. My hair grows when I don't have the courage to. I grow because it started and I'm catching up. What a privilege to make my own mentor, teacher, support system. What a powerful independence to grow silken revenge out of my own body. Look at me become a gorgon with a stony smile, waiting for you to turn around, knowing your mask won't protect you from my stare. I have a lot of sad introspective poems, and I'm trying to work on happiness because I'm in therapy. Thanks, quarantine, for keeping me by myself so long. I ask for help. This poem is called Optimism, socially distanced. I know I am an optimist because hope is still tender to touch. I guard it in wicker and thorns, but nothing man-made. Hope deserves to be protected organically. If I am so scared to disappoint those that believe in me so fiercely, it stands to reason how fiercely I believe in hope's power. I hope with my hands, even if they are closed and clenched. I deserve so much more than the good I have allowed in, but now is not the time to regret. It is a wasted space to keep the what was-is with the what could be's. I hope like the disciple Peter. I can walk on water if I don't look at anything else, but my eyes are always darting. My hope has sea salt caked in its sandals. I believe in miracles because as godless as I have become, I want to be wrong. People have told me to decipher between church and God. I do not believe in church because it first did not believe in me. I believe in God because there are times when I can't believe in myself, so I go for the unseen thing. It's funny how faithless a gay man is, truly. We're very visual creatures. We see, hunt, and pump until we see what we caught shot on the wall or the bedspread or any place we choose for safekeeping. The proof is right in front of our eyes before we wipe it off. I don't miss God because they never left. I did. So mad at church, I didn't believe they could survive outside of the affiliation. So loving of myself, I didn't think there was room for all of us. And it's not like I could evict them, but I could use my spectrum powers to compartmentalize them to a past I've yet to contend with. I heard of hope because of my past. I know of hope because of my sexuality. I believe in the future because the people that have critical thoughts about church and those that have been burned by the church have shown me God is everywhere, especially outside the pews of their house. It doesn't matter if the glass of water is half full or half empty, as long as you know it can be the ground you walk on. y'all get a public poetry exclusive because I wanted to write about my friends because I'm finally believing and accepting the help that they are so willing to give. And I wanted to write something before this. So here is some new stuff. And this will be my final poem. Thank you again for having me. This one is called Friendship Realities. I need to shout out my friends, or because I was in choir, I need to switch to head voice so my belting will not turbo blast my vocal cords. Against logicality, I will go hoarse, letting people know how exemplary my team is. My friends are music, melismas, harmonies strung together, overlapping, interweaving, reducing my heart rate, circulating blood to the ends of me. My friends propel me. It doesn't matter if it's unleaded or premium, it's not regular how much my friends gas me up. My friends respect my boundaries. Do you have any idea how held I feel when my people, my chosen, my beloved, ask if I want to be hugged? I hate being touched 85% of the time. My people know I appreciate a heartwarming question more than an unwanted embrace. I have friends that go back in time for me. Did you know that phones used to be just for talking? Like with voices and stuff? Crazy. What a concept. The people that are in my innest of circles take the magic school bus and travel on a phone line right back to the 90s. I hear their voice and it is cool water running on pressure points. Young kids talk about friendship goals and I have friendship victories. I have friendship achievements. Do you know how much of a feat it is to have quality friends past 25, past 18, past birth, after everybody isn't sequestered to a college campus, high school, the friggin' womb? Do you know how much of a boon it is to find somebody you can stand to be around when people exist to light this world on fire? It takes work, especially when you haven't had sex with them, when you respect them because they're good people and they move up in their lives and they bring you with them, but not because of pity or obligation. Like they know how much value you have, even though you don't have a trust fund. Like they don't see you as a cash cow or a bank account, but a wellspring, a burnt marshmallow tower of laughter, a lighthouse. Like they look at me, this white, goofy, thick-ass Flanders Muppet with a laugh made of only ricochets and momentum, and they want to attach themselves to me. What a tasty risk to associate with me. Can somebody tell me what it feels like to ask a bundle of nerves to do anything but fire? To know I am the purest energy with nowhere to go. It's so wild to know that arcades existed before touch in a pandemic felt like a threat or a looming foreshadowing. But when I focus with my friends, I know I am the ball bearing, and they are the spring and the journey and the lights. So many lights. The evolved cheering, the rooting from afar, the roots beneath my feet, the water. We're all made of so much water. They remind me to consume more of myself, to replenish before I give out more, or else be wilted energy. There is so much work to do, and we all remind each other to come back from the brink of dust. Thank you so much, Public Poetry. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. And you might have noticed that was kind of a long set because Ryan is going to have to go before the show ends. So please, if you're familiar with Zoom, try to use the clap hands icon or the heart icon, or if you're in the chat, the asterisks are snaps. So bravo. Thank you, Ryan. Our next featured poet is Gabriella Adriana Iacono. She is a writer and artist from Staten Island, New York. She was a recipient of the 2016 Mayapple Fellowship and the 2020 Poetry at Round Top Fellowship, and she is an imprint fellow. Her work is forthcoming in the 2020 Round Top Anthology. She was recently published in the 2020 Defunct Anthology, the 2020 Sizzle Anthology, and has worked featured in the 4th volume of Defunct Magazine. Iacono has been a featured reader for Public Poetry Houston, Defunct Magazine, Pen and Brush NYC, La Isla Bonita Festival, and others. She has taught creative writing for writers in the schools and literature for the University of Houston, where she also serves as the graduate advisor for Glass Mountain Magazine. Her poem Cabin Shock was recently nominated for a Pushcart Prize. She is currently an MFA candidate in poetry at the University of Houston and is working on her first collection of poetry. Please welcome Gabriella Adriana Iacono.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Layla, for that introduction. I want to thank everyone at Public Poetry, Fran, Layla, Justin, Carmen, Carrie, everyone who makes this possible. And I would also like to thank, of course, the Houston Public Library. So I'm going to be reading some newer poems in the works. They sort of fit into the theme that Ryan had set up. And it's sort of like a continuation of probably our last reading together, which is centered around being a recovering Catholic. So you'll notice that there are like thematic arcs such as like loss, cultivation, myth, the Catholic imagination, origin. And that's all I really want to say about these next poems for now. I'd also just like want to shout out Ryan for doing such an amazing set. It's really, really great stuff. Grief as a fertilizer forever. This first poem is entitled Tugging. The only thing you really need to know is that it's just thinking a lot about memory and magic, and lore-like implications of memory. And I'd just like to shout out my sister who's in this reading right now. I've never invited family to readings before, so this is new. Okay, Tugging. When I was young, my sister would wash my back for me, scrubbing where I couldn't reach. Sometimes I would pull open the glass door, join her under sheets of water. I had a fear of water, of drowning in a microfall, of a folklore witch dragging me down the drain. Our mother would let me wash alongside her too. I would scrub with the suds I caught from her side, from beneath her exit, her wound. She had so much unmarked softness. I didn't know how to swim until I was 12 years old and would panic under every rinse. My cousin once tried to drown me in a lake upstate. She pretended to have fallen, tugged me by my wrist, a pregnant mermaid with my head clutched beneath her shirt. I still can't trust my compulsive breath or let go of my nose when it comes time to plunge again. I remember being a wave on the coast of Florida. The ocean floor clogged my ears. I can still hear it wailing loudly, lunging a millennia's crust at me, as if I caused its stippled erosion. A storm surge is apathetic, I suppose. I've watched the Atlantic swell and swallow a hug forever, and I still think of that boy who held a hose to my face, his meekness laid out on his lawn near the grove. I'm older now, and when I stare up at a Gulf storm, the sideways sheets of rain breaking the sky open, I remember looking up from under my mother, and anger becomes too slippery to hold on to. This next poem is entitled Epiphany Came as Bird. You don't seem to understand that I can't process everything. I watched the dog lie. I have thrown the iguana into a dirt pitch that would be swallowed by the swamp. I have to laugh about ridiculous pain, about a blender breaking my nose, a concussion too expensive to see a doctor about, the time I cradled my feet to my pits and hummed until it was over, and then the other time it happened again and again. I can't waste every minute sulking, crying in bed till my face prunes and my cheeks are salt and the daylight is turned off in the room. I can't bring that with me everywhere. I don't want this to come up at a bonfire cipher, during a speech at a wedding or memorial service. I haven't learned proper expulsion, how to bottle and distill. I tire thinking about process and processing, about being there when all are born then die, about being there. I don't know who I will call when I'm ready, who I'd ask to throw me into Earth's cavity. It's the problem I have to solve, what to do with me. And oh, what a thing I've become, a grain of rice thrown on the trail of a bride's veil that chokes the white dove senselessly. This next poem is a kind of ekphrastic poem, so it's great that Fran had mentioned that contest that Public Poetry is doing. So it's loosely referencing an oil on gessoed wood piece entitled Mirror of Narcissus from a Staten Island artist named Gene Wagner, excuse me. So again, the title is Ejaculatory Prayer for Past and Future Misfortunes. Read this when the city plants a wholesale store on your wetlands, when they've chased out the skunk and the snakes, as they erect condos on your cemeteries, as they push the bodies and plots back for a leasing office. Grant yourself permission to fuck behind the headstones, and then read this before everyone goes out before sundown, when the world is walking their dogs and cats and kids, and all grow tired and all of them are harnessed. Or if you see a skull strapped to a rabbit's back, or when the toads play a requiem on a fiddle, or when you browse your emails for shopping promotions, or while adding an item to cart for birthdays or Christmas, or while the gas company is burning its waste like an artisan match. Read this because we're all walking across glaciers, because our shoes are made of rock salt, because everything sparkles like a rhinestone, because it's all charming and valueless. That's my set for now. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. Our next featured poet is Chibi. He is a Mexican-born, Texas-raised, queer poet and actor. He is the founder of Laredo Border Slam, a founding member of Right About Now, and a two-time San Antonio Slam, let's see, hang on, I lost my place. Let's just read that again. Two-time San Antonio Slam champion, winning third place at the 2017 National Poetry Slam Group Piece Competition. He has published 2 books and was co-editor of the anthology Contra, Texas Poets Speak Out, from Flower Song Press. He has toured across the country performing his spoken word sets, and his work appears in or is forthcoming from Defunct Magazine, Outsmart Magazine, the Latino Book Review Magazine 2020, and he's been featured online at We Are Me Too, George Takei, Slam Find, Poetry Slam Inc., Button Poetry, and Right About Now. Please welcome Chibi.
Hey, thank you all for having me, Public Poetry, and sharing the space with these amazing poets. Like, okay, I have to go after all of that. I'm having a good skin day. You're welcome. And I've also been taking a lot of workshops this past month. So y'all are going to get some poems that have never been read outside of a workshop setting. I'm going to do in this first set one long poem, one really long poem, and one really short poem. And I apologize to Cerebellum, who has probably heard this poem like 4 times in the past month. But let's get the heavy stuff out of the way. This is called Through the Skin of Your Teeth. Accepting your own destruction is sleeping between 6th Street and I-35 in Austin rush hour. The rock bottom underpass of how did I get here? Slumped on the desk you never use for work, swaddled in sweat sheets in a cold co-op bedroom you've been looping through for 3 years, encroached by a mite-covered den of unwashed, mostly forgotten clothes. You only wear long sleeves freckled in red and red and red anyway, nodding off. Next to a pair of coffee mugs, barfing cigarette butts on the nightstand, engulfed by the smell of choosing oblivion over yourself. Your bookshelf of abandoned textbooks, mostly unread, shelters you from the dry-mouthed reality that you haven't done shit, despite the bullhorn-framed $40,000 paper feverishly debating otherwise from the back of an empty closet. And the secret drawer glittered with ritualistic cotton, spoons, tiny empty balloons, cradles your rent by the hour dignity. That drawer harbors the hollow of the moment you keep chasing, an intimate black hole that you're never going to guillotine if you don't devour yourself down to the nail beds, each brittle breath boiling over with iron and burnt vinegar. You can't see the only way out is in. Cannibalism is hard to swallow, but you got to kill in order to live. So, step 1, stop stalling. The moment to pick where every crossroad merges is every time you think you want to burn all the yesterdays. What are you waiting for? However fleeting, the now and the never gonna be crumble against the glimmering sandcastles of the still could be. Step 2. Let go of the permanent markers you wrote the years in. The truth is, you could be powdered and casket ready, but the fact that you grind so hard to lasso a plastic bag over your thoughts and pull means you can still pull yourself out and fall into the well of who knows what's next, and that hurts, but not as much as you're going to in the next 10 days. So grab a bucket and Benadryl, brace yourself for a shitstorm and hurt. Step 3. Throw your shame in the mouth of the pit viper where you found the band of quicksand masquerading as friends and ask for help. Start with the people you were too proud to let see your stab wounds. They're probably the only ones still willing to offer their necks for yours. Step 4. Question everything you ever thought your life was gonna be. Like, this isn't an A&E documentary. You're not even Lifetime original material. The predetermined path you thought you were rebelling against was met with a mirror, and you already lost yourself. So what else is there? You don't lack identity if you aren't fighting. A fire can still burn without taking everything else down with it. So sift the silence like a toddler's shape shorter in marshmallow hands. Pretend like it's the first time, because in many ways it is the first time you're able to run to instead of away from something. Step 5, don't run. Go slow. I heard a rumor you were selfish and self-consuming, so before you consume everything just to prove you were ever here, stop. Take a moment to grow rainbows from the icicles of father figures. Find the fairy dust that pumps in the red blood cells of every breath. Breathe. Take another step and feel how weightless it is to be here while acknowledging how heavy it is to be alive. Confidence grows like moss, doubt like vines. Both can colonize a garden you've spent years scorching. So why not sit? Dig your palms in the dirt and stop accusing gravity of holding you down when it really just keeps you grounded. We all know you don't have a problem with consumption, just yourself. So go on. Take a big gulp. The worst that can happen is you find you're an acquired taste. And if you still have something to lose, then this poem isn't for you. Come back in a few months. But if your throat grows excuses and lies like cancer, then make the right choice and go home instead of chasing after something that'll never love you back. Get out of here with your can't rewrite history and instead write tomorrow like yesterday never existed. What is armor if not a cage? So again, stop stalling. Let go. Ask for help. Question everything and go slow. Learning to live with yourself is like walking in wet socks, but it's so much softer than the hot coals you swear were cauterizing your pain, not causing it. Self-destruction is sobering, and you're already a cliche, so go ahead and rise from the ashes. The kingdom of nothing is all you have left. Take a chance and inherit yourself for once and every day after. Choose you. Someone has to. Okay. What was I going to do after that? Shit. Okay. It got cold. The weather got really cold. So this is a short poem, and this will be my last poem for this set because I feel like that last poem was like 5 minutes long. This is called There's No Way I'm Not Here. The heaviness of toes on cold stained concrete takes a second to register. It's winter, y'all. Feel it in the buildup at the back of your throat. The pain Southerners feel wishing for heated floors in the bathroom for the 3 weeks out of the year where the shock chills the gums from the feet, but the quiet in the trees confirms. It is winter, y'all. Enjoy the hoodies and beanies before judgment trickles from head to neck to chest and compels them back into the corner saved for the fleeting and cherished but never forgotten, the precious few. The darlings. Don't worry. Summer is only on a quick 15. The world moved for us to have this moment, so lean into it like the heat is not forever. And winter captures the rush of blood in the cheek of every long night and quiet morning stars. Thanks, y'all. That's my time.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Our next featured poet is Yolanda Movsesian. She is an Armenian born in Iran and has lived most of her life in Houston. Her poetry, prose, and artwork can be found in a variety of publications, including the Mississippi Review, Synchronicity, and Defunct magazines. Please welcome Yolanda Movsesian.
Hi, everyone. I want to thank Public Poetry. It's such a wonderful venue. And when I came out of my hibernation, it was very, very effective in helping me get back to my poetry. So I really do appreciate Public Poetry. So I'm going to start with my first poem. It's called To Please You. To please you. I used colors and imagery, colors and visions and words intertwined to carry you to worlds I saw in my mind. But you cut out vines and replaced lattice with a wall. The only color left is blue of my cat's eyes, the only vision of dirty dishes in the sink. No words, only words. In Armenian, every fairy tale starts with the expression gar u chgar, which means there was and there was not. So this one is called, In the Season of Skeletons, the Dead Decorate the Doorways. Gar u chgar, there was and there was not. The truth is, I don't want to be here in this house with a cyclops and 12 pianos, offering no solace, just markers of grief, of apocalypse. Buttons tear off, ripped shirts, eardrums, blood running down legs, bandages, taste of iron on your tongue. Trade your voice for a limb. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't hurt, it doesn't. Just a hole in your chest. Misunderstood again. Not alone, not alone, not again. Spit out rubies and pearls in place of venom. The child hides behind doors. What big eyes you have. Must be strong for her sake. This is not how it works, the world. Lost my place again. Step forward, missteps, back, traps, mistakes, let down your hair. I'm strong as long as you are, the villain. Huff and puff the house, and I crumble. The dead are invisible to me. That is how I know it is not yet time. Fires from the sky vaporize everyone. I know metal, hot scissors, singed skin, blue Easter dress shred. 300 years of good deeds keep you from turning into sea foam. I haven't said goodbye, yet I am ether. I could reside in the dark spots of the moon. I don't want to be here. Next time, the dragonflies will carry me. Gar Uchagar, I am, and I am not my story. This one is called Endless Summer. At intersection of hope and despair, I plucked you out of detritus of my soul. Parasitic worm gnawing my insides. I wore you too long like a bad habit made of polyester sticking to my sweaty skin in the midst of hot, humid August day. I died before I found strength to pull your rusty chains out of my veins. And now I am free, free to crash, free to melt, free to live a life of endless summers with no compromises. I spread my wings of wax to fly to house of dreams I built in clouds, and I banish you to the realm where all that decay and stagnate walk in circles for eternity, having no power or influence over me, having no power or influence over me. My daughter goes to school in Brooklyn, so I visit her every once in a while. So I wrote this on a day that I was visiting her, and it was very difficult to leave. Sunday morning, Brooklyn. Loud Latin music on my radio drowns sounds of cars and sirens and men shouting nonsense from street below. Compact red suitcase packed and ready for takeoff. I'm hanging on for one more hour, one more memory, one more sentence before the last exit, the last exhale, accelerated collapse of supernova. I'm going to end this set with a poem giving tribute to one of my favorite coffee places that I hang out here in Houston. The poem is called Running into Slaughter at the Upside Down Coffee Shop. You reek of tragedies and disappointments, he says. Negotiate carefully around dread, and then the line breaks. He feels nothing for you, not a thing, and you condense between worlds, refuse to say goodbye, raging against your heart, that useless organ, inflicted with edema, drawn to entropy, you ponder utility of hope, that grain of sand irritating your insides. You see better with your eyes closed, choking on scent of fire. Dissolve pain, step out of shadows and into color. Antidote awaits in a cup of warmth, mixed with oat milk, spiced with gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you. That was excellent. So at this point, we're going to have the open mic, and everybody is welcome to read during the open mic. Usually people volunteer through the chat. You can also use the raise hand function if you would like to. And I am keeping a list. So let's see. So the rules: one poem per customer, and keep it family friendly. Okay. Okay. So we've got 2 volunteers so far. So first we'll have Sarah Bellum, and then Margot, and then Brian. Margot, Or sorry, Sarah, you're muted.
Oh, hey. All right, there we go. I was like, family friendly. Okay, now I gotta find a different poem. I think I got something though. Thanks so much for having me. This is incredible. I love all these Houston poets from Houston myself. So like I write about now crew and then new poets too. So this poem is going to be Deceptive Heat. This is a write about now 30 for 30 prompt of write a poem using the words gather, accident, and flawless. I gather all the collective goodness I am, the meaning of me not being an accident, never flawless in design, because the nicks and marks on this flesh show how I was cut open, bled out until wet, chilled by the progression of my bloodletting until there is nothing left. I am the automated collection of being more than the culmination of trauma, sitting on my porch waiting for me to bring it in like a package to be unwrapped, to be given a home within the four walls I've created from the destruction of myself, lodged it in my earlobe where it, like ear holes meant to carry earrings, but all I do is carry the past like ornaments to a Christmas tree that never lights me up. I plug coils into the wall socket, dance before it like I mean to make illumination happen just by the movements, and my hips synced in time with the rhythm of my heart beating, burping. Occasionally the blood veins don't want to emit inside like the clogged arteries, the congestion of traffic outside my window that never stops its movement but spills onto my streets. I've always had the lighter near me, snapping it on and off, quelling the urge to see how flesh burns, and instead wear fire retardant solve to keep it from being lit properly. I'm too tempted to fall in love with the flames that I can't help but to watch them lick, eat the oxygen, use it as fuel, and wonder if I'm the flick of a flame furnished into deceptive heats. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. Margot, you ready?
Yeah. Bath time. Oh, I'm sorry. The title is Getting Clean. Bath time. Cotton soap clouds in a warm tub. Lavender embraces the room. Each piece slips into the spa to soak and release the last bits of food. When the dishes are ready, I add more soap to an unused paintbrush and glide the bristles over residue that needs a little nudge to let go. This ritual is my post-dinner yin and yang. Clean dishes, dirty dishes, clean dishes again. Redemption. After the virus leaves, I will return to my dinner party memories during these washings. The hugs, the laughter, the moans of culinary approval, the long, delicious goodbyes. But tonight, I will clear my mind and linger in the lather. Linger in the lather. Thank you.
Thank you. So next up, we'll have Brian, followed by Roshana, Pravadri, and several other people. If you want to volunteer, you still can. Take it away, Brian.
Awesome. Thanks, Leela. This is definitely a Gar Uchigar poem. Thanks, Yolanda, for sharing that phrase with us, because the speaker of this poem is me, but also is not me. Country house in France. Creak. Mother cranks open the casement windows. Summer vacation. We've arrived ahead of you. Ellie and I run into the fields of lavender while the setting sun gleams golden in Mother's glass, and she drinks. Goose down pillows, walls of robin's egg blue, white ceramic vases. Empty all those months we lived our real life, our Manhattan life, and Mother labored in the kitchen to get Paul Bocuse right, the French laundry, La Rousse Gastronomique. 30 blocks south, you sat in a window in the sky, raking sons of bitches over the coals for our sake. Late night taxi rides home, sometimes from work, sometimes from her place, the hers we were not supposed to know about. Raindrops on the windshield, taxi radio, dispatches in American, the driver on another call, in another language, the seasons outside an afterthought, the restaurants open late, a string of decades in which anything could be solved with a good bottle of wine brought to you by a server who knew your place. Parsnips simmering in the kitchen, bacon, sage, vinegar, bouillon. Mother's therapy podcasts on the speaker above the refrigerator, self-help podcasts, couples podcasts, books of philosophy from your undergraduate years on the shelves in the living room overlooking Lexington Avenue. What is happiness? What do we need to feel happy? Goodness exists, a younger you wrote in a margin. We know it exists because it is gestured at by beauty, and we can recognize beauty when we see it. Her body, how it filled that dress. You were convinced you were alive because you longed for her, what you thought of as her. Mother would be well into her second glass by the time the elevator delivered you to our floor, smelling of her perfume. I was a freshman at Yale when the call came, 2 years after the divorce. Ellie was sailing across the world without a cell phone. A Saturday night in mid-September, just after midnight. Laughter from the dormitories, beer kegs on the air, cool already. Just over the horizon, train tracks, a highway, a river. A classics major of undetermined gender, whom I was in love with, manically declaiming Ovid. The voice of the doctor asked me in grammar school English if I was your daughter. The night before, the night that was still my night, you had fallen in the grass in the front yard. Your heart had stopped. 1 minute you were 52 years alive on this earth, the next you were dead, and not any age at all. Once when I was a child, I sat beside you in your Alfa Romero as you raced in manic jags up and down the French countryside and asked you how would you prefer to die, by cold or heat, by falling or suffocation, by poisoning or hanging. You sped up. I begged you to slow down, but you laughed and said I was too young to think of death. But I wasn't too young to think of death, Dad, and I'm not now either, as I lay beside you in my bed and it becomes the grass in front of your country house in France, while cows moo in the distance and our hearts, those blind farmers, cover us in stones. Thanks.
Thank you. Next up, let's hear from Roshana, followed by Pravadri, Lisa, Judith, and more. Is Roshana ready? Okay, it looks like we're having technical difficulties. We'll come back if we can. How about Pravadri?
Hello everyone, am I audible and visible? Am I audible and visible?
Yes.
Okay. So, thank you for having me here, and it's great for me to participate in it. I've been participating in consecutively 3 months. So, this is one of the poems I wrote it today afternoon, and I've named it The Ultimate Origin. Standing on the verge of death, among many coffins by my side, I pray to you, O Lord, with my family you must abide. They hung the jingling bells and enlightened our home, but tore all ties with me and left me alone to roam. The walls with whom I would talk, the doors to whom I could say, have all turned their backs to me, but keep them safe, O Lord, I pray. Bless me, O Lord, that I shall never return, or even face that house, where thoughts would be shared with mine, and my presence would make hearts warm. May this Christmas, Lord, be different for them and for me. May I get all the grief, and they all be happy. For I have dedicated my happiness and identity to them. Alas, they couldn't see. So today in this graveyard, I perform the last rites of the soul inside me, thereby setting it free. Thank you.
Well done. Thank you. Okay, let's see if Lisa is ready, followed by Judith and Pauline. Lisa?
I'm here. Give me one sec. I'm just gonna get my book open. Hang on a minute. Okay, let me start my video.
There you are.
Thank you
Hello.
for having me. Thank you for having me. I'm reading from my new book that just came out, Peripetia, by cyberwit.net. It's a press in India. And I'm gonna read the poem. I'm gonna read Ode for George Floyd. It's one of my really good poems in this book. And so, all right, here goes. There's an epitaph. I Have a Dream by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Going to be somebody, no matter what the white man says. Each and every day I pray to never end up the way George was slayed, obeying the law, non-resistant, polite, dressed nicely and unarmed and kind. Rights of African Americans, excuse me. Can you see me? I'm sorry. Rights of African Americans have been destroyed by a system of injustice, glorifying white supremacy, inciting the need to crush the breasts of humanity. Each time I see a policeman use his power to end the life of a person of color, fire burns in my eyes. Lights get dimmed by the tears flowing from my despise. Life is not about the white man and his arrogance, using his stick and bullet to oppress the lives of so many Americans, living their lives peacefully and free. Yesterday was only a dream to so many, and we have so many more dreams to dream. Songs to sing, minds to bring the power to esteem. We cannot waste lives being blind to the terror that police brutality brings. Ignite the fire inside. Ignite the fire with all your pride. Ignite the fire inside your mind. Be all that you can be. Power equals education. Very happy people go through life, go through tough times too, but they get up again and again. Every time I see someone like George Floyd get abused, I literally want to cry about and scream, also cause. I can't stand seeing a man in pain, then being demeaned and murdered because he's Black. It upsets me. It upsets nations across the world watching, witnessing police brutality. It sends a message, America's failing and deteriorating and disintegrating. Something must be done now and forever to change the course of our lives so we can learn to love each other. Learn to love each grandmother, grandfather, father, brother, son, mother, sister, daughter, like our own, and respect them as our own. One life equals all our lives, equals all our futures, equals all our humanity, equals all our grandchildren. Now's the time to take no chances. Take no chances. Take no chances. Let's stay alive. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we'll have Judith, followed by Pauline and John.
Good afternoon. This is a prose poem, and it's called TMI, Too Much Information. I log the day's data. County by county, I record cases, tests, hospitalizations. After a while, my spreadsheet begins to talk in digital tongues. Like distant bird calls, their message is ambiguous in direction and absent of intent. We all prefer conversations dressed up with body language, eye contact, new news. For numbers, it's called datitude. A few entries catch my eye. I begin to visualize patterns, clusters that coalesce and grow. In 100 days, what is now 1,000 will be 10,000, an exponential increase faster than my counter. But the collective mind is just as blind to the obvious as the incredible. Now Hurricane Hannah is on the horizon. I am no prophet, but these results are valid, and those who won't listen will never know the difference they could have made. Can't we all do better than simply cope? A downpour sends us indoors to check our mail, pay our bills, heat our soup, take our pills. Drenched, the trees outside shake their branches dry between thunderclaps like a ringmaster's whip. We look out the window to watch how birds, suspended in flight, master the turbulence.
Thank you, thank you. Next up, let's have Pauline John, and I'm going to finish it off.
I'm trying to unmute and get the video
There
on.
you are.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I write really short poems. This one came this spring with all the stuff that was going on. And it's called Driving While Us in America. As a white mother, I did not know how to have the talk with my Black son. I did not know how to teach him deference, where to put his large hands, or how, when grown at 6'4", he could seem harmless. There were times when he was young, I woke him up as we drove through the darkest parts of Chicago, where, if alone and seemed to be alone in my white skin, I feared I might be prey. Now, decades later, I buy stuffed animals for him to place very visibly in the rear window of his dark, low-slung muscle car. Is there time for another?
We do have that one per customer rule. Sorry, but I love short poems. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
And John, are you ready?
And wait. Yes, here we go. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is called We Need to Talk. As tired as I am of each weary cliche, I have to conclude at the end of the day, it is what it is. And what can I say? Things happen for a reason. There's something to be said for that. Whatever the season, yada, yada, yada. What goes around comes around. Do what you may, or look the other way. Make no mistake, and don't get me wrong. You asked about optics? So what would that look like? It's not okay, okay? Okay, have it your way. In what world is what you say ever going to be okay? No way, or so you say, a game-changing play. We're backing away, dialing back to the day before toxic fray conflated to weaponize false equivalents on display, making less room to play with only binary options to weigh. What do you mean? What about? Make it all go away. Hello? Are you even listening? You should hear yourself say what you're saying today. When did it become okay to stockpile cliches for the overflow day when outpouring them all could wash the slate clean and channel the way for new waves of cliches. Backwater the old to a phase, you might say, past their old fields of play, which, oh, by the way, still need to be leveled. It's now a new day, but words that still work remain here to stay. No need to ask, are you okay? Because I think I'm hearing you say, quote, for words without end, let us pray, unquote, amen. Free your thoughts as we speak, and more to the point, be plainly direct as a bird. Go forth to love and serve the word. Look around you for more to be heard. Just a few housekeeping notes without favor or fear. We're awaiting the votes while the jury's still out to make things perfectly clear. Our world's round, not flat. And having said that, are we done here?
Thank you. So I know a lot of poets like to read their own work, but you always have the option of reading someone else's poem. And I have been escaping the pandemic through literature as well as a person can. I recently discovered this poet named Rebecca Elson. She was an astronomer, and someone gave me this lovely book called A Responsibility to Awe. So I'm going to share, basically this poem is just my new favorite thing. I love this. It's called Let There Always Be Light, Searching for Dark Matter. For this, we go out dark nights searching for the dimmest stars, for signs of unseen things, to weigh us down, to stop the universe from rushing on and on into its own beyond, till it exhausts itself and lies down cold, its last star going out. Whatever they turn out to be, let there be swarms of them, enough for immortality, and always a star where we can warm ourselves. Let there even be enough to bring it back from its own edges, to bring us all so close that we ignite that bright spark of resurrection. So thanks, Yolanda. So now we're going to return to our featured poets. And first up, we will have Gabriella Iacono.
Thank you. I love the open mic. And I especially like that poem that you just shared, Layla. I wrote down Rebecca Elson's name so that I could read that book in the future. I'm going to begin with a pretty old poem that I've recently retitled. So it's called Requiem for Constructions. My first draft was written in a journal full of dog-sick eulogies. My first draft was written on an ATM receipt because my first draft was a sterile mouth, because my first draft was written on a student's individualized education program, because my first draft was a thick-voiced woman, because my first draft was a refinery, because my first draft was a little shop of terrors and horrors and butterflies, because my first draft didn't know when it would be replaced, because my first draft was trying to learn coping mechanisms and healthy self-regulating behavior, because the first line of my first draft was scribbled in Sharpie on a Metro card, because my first draft was a vacuum, was a vacuum, was a vacuum, because my first draft was a joyride on the seat of your jaw, because my first draft was a black hole with blue skies, because my first draft was my first real relationship, because my first draft was a reflection of myself in a wading pool, because my first draft was a stubborn stole that gathered much moss, because my first draft had no garden growing, because my first draft suggested retail price couldn't cover therapy, because my first draft was the cubic zirconia to your Balanchine jewels, because my first draft felt manic, because my first draft was the gin and tonic cupcake nobody asked for, because my first draft wasn't even my first draft, because my first draft was a young bride, because my first draft showed no obvious signs of trauma, because my first draft was a patient pine, because my first draft wanted to burn holes in the men that held it, because my first draft was jotted on Bible paper, because my first draft was a girl I kissed, because my first draft asked if it could be excused, because my first draft clung to the margins, because my first draft got rejected, because my first draft was a phone booth with no receiver, because my first draft was too transparent, because my first draft suggested birth control and the rape of rape, because my first draft was a mute canary in a coal mine, because my first draft was typed in a text, then forwarded to an email account I lost the password to, because my first draft suggested God, because my first draft was used as a gum deposit, because my first draft caved in like a bowling ball to sheetrock, because my first draft was a matinee, because my first draft was cut to its heading, because my first draft was. This next poem is shorter and newer, titled On Propagating Loneliness. My landlord called again today, told me to waterlog her plants. She waxed on about the dying time and basil glutting the ground. She didn't say where to saturate or sprinkle, so I poured a bathtub out and then some. I asked if she ever watched a bee give up her stinger. The banana tree paddled on my shoulders. Her fruits were inedible and rain troubled. I've done more cutting lately. I've begun to decorate the balcony with banana leaf effigies to keep the aloe company. She said they'd been punctured by roof rats, had caught the oak wilt from falling bald moss. I let her go on a while, thumbed a gash of pulp on my palm. She gave me a recipe for tea. The tender roots of her hibiscus had drowned. I listened because she's lonely and reminds me of some women I have been. This poem is titled Pancakes First, Regret Thereafter. I've missed our calamities, our heave-hoes, the accusations like, you didn't turn off the stove when the lock spurs and spatula went aflame. It's as though morning came, an uneventful Sunday, and both of us were forced to unlearn the other, forced to forget how to open the other's mouth, how to scoop the words out like dumb jack-o'-lanterns. You no longer trace my spine with your crooked finger. I no longer hang on your uvula to get you to scream. Sometimes I bend my fourth finger and bandage it like a claw. Sometimes I dislocate my arm like a vine and reach for your dissipating magic. It's a kind of memory I have, how to unearth our pulse from smoke and submit. This next poem I will read is another Requiem poem, and it was written about Memorial Park in Houston. Requiem for the Forgotten at Memorial Park. A year went by. The specter of the maker was gone. A depression had been sowed. Specters were everywhere. A man fell through a sidewalk sinkhole. Another climbed a pecan tree and brushed his teeth with an asp. He sloughed from a branch like nothing. I wonder when the ground will open up and I will be swallowed, or if I will transmute into a shade or color or gestation. All makers are gone. All parks remind me of artifice. The goats in the paddock are for hire. I'm spared feeling close to them. You can't get near the fence to see their irises, horizontal and paralleled with danger. Maybe I'm projecting. Maybe I'm corrupting my own field. I wonder what fields are beautiful to you, if beauty is another word for precision. My fear tells me I don't have anything worth saying. tucks me into bed, kisses my eyes. It sits on my chest and plays Nocturne in E flat. Fear names the girls that hate me, tells me I'm pretty for a dumb girl. Fear is like a good stick, which means it doesn't break easily. I think it tells people to immortalize their beloveds' names onto benches and donor boardwalks. How else could we delay our forgetting and being forgotten about? I have imagined death on a field like this, lying on my belly, the viaticum in my mouth. I would listen to the lily whisper louche nothings to the marigold, would turn over and see my three fates watching from a reflection pond. I'd feel supported by the earth beneath my back and wouldn't worry about my brain sabotaging my body, or if an oak was cut down, or if some poor creature's entrails were dragged across its stump. Because I know, because forests will take care, will begin to grow over each of our bodies. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right, let's welcome back another featured poet, Chibi.
Ding. All right. Thanks again. Damn. Oh, Gabriella. Can I recover for a moment before I go on? Okay. Okay. So, yeah, to something Sarah said. So the poems that I read in the first set were part of a workshop, a 4-part workshop I took with Buddy Wakefield in something that he's put together called Awful Good Writers, which is a bunch of poets giving workshops. I'm going to announce officially for the first time, because I just signed the contracts today, that I'm going to be giving a 4-part workshop in March. So if anyone's interested, y'all can, yeah, there's no information because it just got confirmed today, but I just threw it in the chat. Follow me on Instagram. I'll post about it. You can see it on my website when I get information, or just go to awfulgoodwriters.com and follow that, because some amazing poets are giving workshops. That's that. Okay, promo over. Poems. Here we go. This was one that I wrote in a workshop with Ebony Stewart via Awful Good Writers. It's called After Enough is Enough. Post-election America is still split. Read the headlines and laughed fake news. Read in the puckered face of a bewildering disappointment. Seeing stars and stripes. Redlining friends and family out of Twitter feeds so fast, ready to put this behind us or put the other side out of his festering feelings, like, if we do it before Christmas, it may snow in San Antonio, but only for one day, because any longer and we are done. And everyone's fighting for a breaking news headline that won't save us from the division we've been invested in, collecting interest groups, thinking with enough capital we can take over Congress. Everyone's asking, how did he lose? How was it that close? I reflect, why are we covering our eyes with bonfires? Seeing red in the yard signs and bumper stickers, I'm left with so many questions and about expectations and expulsions, a seesaw of where I place my anger. Why am I a monolith on the tongue of a political pundit? Where is the CNN's technicolored magic wall that helps explain why all Black people are expected to vote the same? How Cubanos reconcile their vote with their own voyage? When so many of my tios chose their fortune over their family? What makes middle America so afraid of people who have always been here? Who are we really fighting? White side, Black side, my side is right and left out of the conversation as lines are carved, monuments come down, and walls go up to comfortably conceal us in our own delusion of the enemy. It's no secret that Whitey got a lot of explaining to do, and American parallels are black and blue. Ain't enough frozen peas for all the black eyes looking at history square in the bigotry, right in the C4-shaped lie. It keeps lighting about all its greatness. What's so great about people fired up, armed down to their tobacco-stained teeth in the street, but not yet ready to sentence blue lives for snuffing out black lives, and all lives can't stop screaming at so much blood, putting band-aids on a severed limb, wondering why it won't stop when we won't stop letting 80-year-olds make decisions about our future. I am tired of having to choose between the belt or the switch. Karen is entitled to her haircut and her opinion, but not her ignorance. The lid popped off this pressure cooker because someone forgot to let it breathe. But before I start pointing fingers, I better be ready to put my ear where my mouth is and extend a hand that isn't desperately clenched around its own preconceptions. I've accomplished so much more by fighting for rather than against something. So let go and let's go. And maybe we can flip this idea of red or blue into one true American spectrum. Oh, yeah, that's some new shit, y'all. Okay, let us do this one. I was not planning on doing this one, but I was so inspired by Gabriella. So here we go. This is called What It's Like to Be Mexican American, for those of you who aren't, after Patricia Smith. At the end of the day, it is compromising on the details. It's years of wondering how to fit in. It's divorced, split holidays between two countries. Neither feels like home. It is finding more comfort in the distance than the destination. It is running away to be different. It's different. Its thick curly hair, a crown of thorns, didn't choose to wear it, is weighing me down. It is heavy as the head that wears the crown. Its salvaged apology, a suit of armor for unknown neighborhoods. It is never being enough of one flavor to savor its spicy food, heartburn consumption, a side of rejection. It is a questioning palate, licking up answers. It is the rattling chains of cumbias and corridos. It's American rock, the liberator. It's rolled R's, the indicator. You're not from around here, from anywhere, really. It is hearing your parents' accent, seeing a marvelous roadblock. It's wanting to be more, less, always. It's editing. It is constantly editing. It is realizing your first draft right, your final draft being written. It's every day, again and again and again and again and again. Okay, one more. Thank you guys again for having me. This has been splendid. This one too just came out of a workshop yesterday, so it's new and barely edited stuff. Sorry, I forgot. Family friendly, no cursing. Okay, moving on. This is called The Garment Duffel. I ordered hope online, the collapsible shape of possibility. A way to organize my life on the go when I can go freely again into the unknown. You could say today I ordered something that crowds my closet. But one day soon, I hope, I ordered a way to order my things away from home, on the road, in the air, in a space unknown where I am most myself, where we come together once again, I hope, without the fear of microorganisms and death that doesn't come from something totally preventable, and a stage that doesn't double as a screen, and my words aren't filtered through headphones, and I can hear your smile without an unmute button, and I can feel your sigh because we can be closer than 6 feet. And I can go back to my hotel room and unpack everything except the bottle of Lysol I will not have to carry. I have more room for the important things, like books and that shirt that smells like my husband. I want to remember what it feels like to miss my husband and the relief of coming home that isn't motivated by the fear of close encounters. So today I ordered something that'll sit unused, a relic, a reminder of the get going and go on, a symbol that we will reunite when we can finally give air hugs the bird, pack crowds, and bags full of the next stop, the where we meet, the day I need you, can't come soon enough. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. That was excellent. Let's welcome back our final featured poet of this session and 2020. I'd like to prematurely say goodbye, 2020. But first, let's welcome back Yolanda Movsesian.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again, Public Poetry, for this wonderful opportunity. And I've really enjoyed listening to all the poems by the featured poets as well as the open mic. Yeah, this poem is called Circles. Death knocks on my front door with school bus full of arguments. I ask him to point me to an exit without trail of blame and damage. Instead, he circles his index finger in the air, rounding up my dreams, pains, and life stories. Circles in the air, circles on the ground, circles etched on my skin. This is how it ends, always in circles. Path to the gallows is not complicated. Structures custom made to fit my frame. But then it begins. Taka, 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 dim taka, of the temple dancer, wrapped in green silk, embroidered in gold, hand gestures telling stories of ancient dreams, pointing to redemption. Feet slapping ground, music from anklet of bells, the rhythm that rattles me into consciousness. And for the moment, darkness bleeds out of me as India ink soaking onto old thirsty yellow parchment. Circles in the air, circles on the ground, circles etched on my skin. This is how it begins. Always the specter of borrowed time. This one is called God of Unfinished Symphonies. God of Unfinished Symphonies, wrap yourself around me, sphere of lead, cloaked in festive paper, in childish game of rock, paper, scissors. Help me find the place where lilies bloom in my veins. Erase useless memories, birthing me to the bottom of the well, keeping me in constant struggle to remember my name. Okay. This one is called Ebb and Flow. Today, the repairman tells me my house could have burned to the ground. After a long discourse on loose wires and electricity, watts and other scientific mumbo jumbo, AC fixed, singed wires replaced, he goes on his merry way, but not before producing a bill will warranty nulls and voids and too many zeros for me to comprehend. My favorite number used to be number 2, but now I think it's 8. I like the way he kissed me and how 8 looks like eternity standing on its head. It's the first day of the cold breeze of autumn. It's my birthday. I'm planning on losing myself in reveries of dragonflies with their blue, green, and fire red armors, and making sense of minor keys, sleek grackles have arranged themselves as on bars of power lines above my head, and having my fortune told by coagulated dance of the grinds at bottom of the bitter cup of free coffee, and then eat cake, lots and lots of cake. This one is called Scent of Dreams. I crave your fire, smoke, clouds drifting by your liquid sky, mercury, colors changing, yellow to tangerine to orange to deep red to blood. Iron rust, exhaustion, you cannot conquer. War in your head, you cannot win. Murky sleep, no flow in time serpentine, feeds off your dust. Ivory to cobalt to oxidized copper roofs. Ghost of your eyes watching from each facade. Paralyzed history in every inch of your skin. I want to wear you. In the winter, it's easier to sleep. Deferred dreams have no sense. Sometimes they have no color. There is always a battle. Copper wings, breathe in, breathe out, sigh, then disappear. Cold and late and raining. Sweet or savory melancholy. Goodbyes, breaking wishes. Hope slippery. Guardian with copper wings, oxidized. I'm going to finish this with this poem called Nothing Else Matters. Tell me, which way does life work when early in the morning, steam rising from cup of hot liquid, I sit and watch in awe of the fog. Ethereal milkiness envelops my limbs, petrifying what once was life. My brain, unable to keep up with mind games, intentions change from hour to hour along with desires and distresses. I ache for all my failings. And now, here in stillness of life inconsequential, I understand finally, nothing else matters but beauty. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. This has been just a wonderful, wonderful reading, a wonderful event. It's truly an honor to have the opportunity to present such wonderful voices. And I'm really, really delighted that all of you are here. Those of you who shared your work, wow. I mean, it's just great. So we will be back next year. I want to wish everyone a very safe and happy holiday, for sure, especially safe. And I'll look forward to seeing you. If you want to find out more about public poetry, if you'd like to join us, if you'd like to become a member, if you'd like to participate in any of the programs that we offer, you'll find information on our newly redesigned website, publicpoetry.net. Thanks so much, everyone, and see you in a very welcome new year. Bye.